there, I am going to teach you today how to make fortune cookies, which are actually a lot easier than you might think. So we're going to start out by separating our eggs. We're going to have 3 eggs, and we're just going to use the egg whites today. So a lot of us growing up were always told to crack our eggs maybe on the edge of a bowl or on the side of a table. I actually find that cracking it on a flat surface is a great way to do it. If you're doing it on the edge of a bowl, you have more of a tendency to push any little cracks of the egg, any little shells into the egg, and you want to try to avoid that. You don't want those egg pieces in there. So flat on the table, that's what you're looking for. And then you just want to press your thumbs into that nice crack there. And you just pull that apart. And then you have a nice clean break. And from here, instead of separating between the 2 eggshells, I'm going to separate it between my fingers and my hand. And the reason being, when you are going between the 2 eggshells, it tends to be really sharp after breaking it, and you have more of a chance of breaking your yolk that way. So I'm just going to put this in to my hands here. I'm just going to very carefully pull my fingers apart just a little bit and shake that through. So I have already separated the 3 egg whites we need for a recipe in this bowl here. And what we're going to do is we're going to add our sugar to this bowl. You can use granulated sugar, but I also like to use castor sugar. It's a finer grain of sugar. It kind of really helps with that really thin texture of the fortune cookie. So it has that really nice, not so gritty texture that you really want in a fortune cookie. So I'm going to add that in, and then I'm going to whisk this together. And so what I'm really looking for is for the sugar and the egg white to combine, but I also want to have a bit of a frothy texture in there. And make sure you're getting everything around the sides, get everything nice and incorporated. Alright, now that we've got that incorporated, we're going to add in our melted butter. So we've got half a cup, which is just 1 stick. So we'll add that in. And I've got half a teaspoon of vanilla extract here. You could also add in almond extract if you would like. That lends itself a really nice flavor. That is pretty typical in fortune cookies. But I just like the vanilla flavor for this instance. And I don't have any almond extract on hand. Tastes just delicious even without it. Alright, so now that that is combined, I am going to add some salt. So I've got a 1/4 teaspoon of salt there. And then I've got 3/4 cup of flour. I'm just going to add all this in at once. So equal parts flour and sugar. So I had the 3/4 cup of sugar as well. So we're just looking for this to combine really nicely. And there is a specific consistency that you really want in your fortune cookies. You don't want this batter to be too thick. Otherwise you're going to end up more with a cake type consistency instead of that crunchy, thinner cookie that you want out of a fortune cookie. So at this point you really have to test the consistency of your batter. And if it's looking pretty thick like this one is now, you're just going to add a little bit of water at a time to get it to where you want it. So you can kind of see just how thick that is. So we're looking for something a little bit closer to a more pourable pancake batter, and this is thicker than that. So I've got some water on hand here. I'm just going to add a little bit at a time. A little bit can go a long way. So maybe, all right, it's looking pretty good. So all in all, I probably added about 6 tablespoons of water to this here. But the amount of water you have to add really depends on your environment at the time of making this. If you're in a more humid environment, it's got a lot of that moisture in the air, and so you don't need as much water. But if you have a more dry environment, you might need more. So you're just going to have to adjust accordingly. So you can see that's a little bit more runny now. And we're ready to put this on our sheet tray. Alright, so I've got a sheet tray here that is lined with a silicone baking mat, and I really like these. These are really wonderful to use. You don't have to, it prevents having to grease your sheet trays with anything. You also makes for easy cleanup, and it really has like this beautiful non-stick surface already built into it. So I really like using these in fortune cookies. Perfect thing to use it for. But you could always just use a sheet tray and grease that up really nicely as well. That's totally fine. So I just got a spoon here, and I'm going to start by spooning some batter, just like so. And I'm going to just add a spoonful at a time, and use the back of my spoon to thin this out. So you're looking for circles that are about 3 inches in diameter. And you want enough of the batter down that it is not showing through to your cookie sheet. So if you can see little parts there where you're seeing your cookie sheet, you want to go ahead and even that out. But you don't want it any thicker beyond that. So once you have that covered up, you can leave it just as is. So it's really good when you're making fortune cookies to just start out with a few in your first batch, because once they come out of the oven, you have to work pretty quickly with them. As they dry out and cool, they're going to start to harden. And so you don't want to do large batches at a time, because you have to work with them while they're still hot. And that's hard to do if you have a lot to work with. So I'm just going to start with 3 in this batch here, and I'm going to pop that in a 375 oven for about 5 minutes, and we'll see where we're at in that time. While those cookies are in the oven, I'm going to go ahead and get everything together that I'm going to need once I come out, because like I said, you have to work with them while they're still hot. So here are the things that you need. I would recommend having a coffee mug on hand, a little palette knife or an offset spatula. I like the thin metal variety. This works really well for this purpose. And you want to have your fortunes on hand. So your fortunes, you want them to kind of match the size of the cookies that you put in the oven. So about 3 inches in diameter is what you're, or 3 inches across in this instance is what you're looking for, and about 1/2 inch in terms of the height here. So you can put whatever messages you want on here. It's totally up to you and for whatever your occasion you're making this for. So I've got some fortunes on hand already cut out. And then of course you want a place that you can set your hot pan. So I'm just going to get that ready, and I've got my oven mitt ready to go so I can pull those out of the oven right away. So we'll just wait for those to get ready, and we'll move on to the next step momentarily. Alright, here we go. Our cookies are out of the oven and they look great. So you'll notice it's got some browning around the edges here. About 1/2 inch is what you're looking for. So now is when we want to work quick. We're going to place our fortune right there in the center of your cookie. You're going to take your spatula. You're just going to gently work it off of the mat here. And then you want to fold this up in half. And this is going to be hot, just as a warning. You gotta work with them hot, otherwise you're not going to get that beautiful shape. So from here, if they're still pretty hot, you can take it on the side of a coffee cup here, and you're just going to bend it like so. And you're just going to hold that in place for a moment and let it take shape. And as it cools, that shape is going to really set in. So, got a fortune cookie right there for you. I had learned about this trick as well. Right now, I have a couple other fortune cookies I want to work on, and so I don't have a bunch of arms, so I'm going to use this muffin tin actually. I'm going to put this in a muffin tin, and that's going to help it keep its shape as it cools. Really neat trick there. So, going to get these other ones going before these cool too much. It's really important that you don't let it brown any further than this, because if you do, you're going to end up with a cookie that is going to start breaking when you try to bend it like this. You don't want that. You want it to be nice and pliable. And if you get to a point where your cookies are starting to become finicky, another option, instead of pulling out your coffee cup, is to create that bend just on the side of your hot pan here. That heat will help make it pliable again. That'll give you that nice bend that you're looking for in a fortune cookie. So there you have it. There's your fortune cookies for you. A lot easier than some might think. They're also very delicious. So you can eat these right away, or if you really want to get that nice crunchy texture, you can let them dry out a little bit more as they cool further. They're going to start to get even crunchier. So I hope you enjoy.